And I am streaming, I think. Always got to double check. Have a green light with green stream, good health and wealth and wisdom. I will turn to the old chat room here and say hello. And I hope that get some folks hanging out with me here in a second. I don't plan on being here too crazy long, but I was watching the news tonight. And I don't normally actually watch a lot of news, but what happens is on a night like tonight, my son's soccer game ended early. My One of my kids was at youth group at church, and then my wife and other kid were at CPR training, and the soccer game ended early. I ended up here. My younger son that played the soccer game went somewhere else, and I'm stuck home by myself. So I was watching the news, and I was getting riled up, guys. I was getting riled up because of this whole Kavanaugh thing. And oh, thank you, Heroes Wear Blue. I appreciate that for the super chat. If anybody super chats, I'm gonna kind of like talk for a little bit. I'll come back and check it out, and maybe I'll stick around and answer a few questions. But I wanted to just hit this real quick, especially as it relates to the whole potential Justice Kavanaugh issue. And a lot of people are like, well, why are you getting political? Why would you want to get political? Listen, politics is sort of like embedded in our culture. People don't avoid politics, but one of the reasons I talk about this is because it intersects, law enforcement and culture, because this concept of innocence until guilt is proven is super, super important. And I just want to take a few minutes to talk about why that is. It's not just an issue of the law, right? In terms of judicial process, it's important there too, of course. It's super important that if someone is going to accuse you of something, they need to be able to demonstrate proof beyond a reasonable doubt that you did it if you are going to be convicted of a crime. Now, we got to get there, right? So just so that you understand, Alex Bus, I love this channel a lot, but I've always thought that if you do a video about politics, I'm unsubscribing. Hope you have a good one. Yeah, bye. I don't care. I'm literally explaining to you, Alex, why this pertains to law enforcement and culture. But if you're not open-minded enough to even listen to me, then you're not the kind of person who I would want to follow this channel and say that you even follow it anyway, because that's mentally weak. Leonardo, thank you so much for the super chat. I will come back to your comment here in a little bit. So understand, I want you to understand the process first, okay? I want to get to this from the legal perspective, just so that you understand it, okay? When the first thing you have is what's called reasonable suspicion, okay? That is sort of like, if you look at this on a scale of 0 to 100, right? 100 being absolute evidence of guilt that is indisputable. Indisputable evidence. That's 100. 0 is no one even knows what you're doing, okay? Let's look at reasonable suspicion as like 25%, like a 25. Okay? You have a suspicion that someone has done something, and there's some reasonable explanation for why you believe that, okay? Then you go to probable cause, which pushes it a little bit further beyond reasonable suspicion into having enough information, enough evidence to, let's say, make an arrest. Okay, there's probable cause now for an officer. If I'm going to make an arrest, I have to have probable cause that you committed that crime. So there's enough reasons that this is very probable that someone committed a crime enough that they're being arrested for it. Okay? Now, then you have to, in order to convict someone of that, the next step from there is usually there's some states have grand juries, some have exams. Like we have exams in Michigan. We don't have grand jury here like it's used in other states. So a judge then hears the case and decides if that probable cause and other probable cause that is developed in the process of that case is enough to bind that case over for trial. In other words, are these charges that have been brought by, like, the arresting officer makes the charge, prosecutor reviews it, and then formally charges someone. A judge then hears the case and decides, is there enough evidence, probable cause, to substantiate the charge enough to send this to the next step. Okay? And then, I'm in my basement, guys, sorry. So then they go to the next step, which would be trial, whether it's by jury or by judge. And then if it's a civil case, you have to have preponderance of the evidence, which means you're at 51. Okay? 51, not 100. Okay? So 51, but if you're going to have a conviction on the criminal side, it is beyond a reasonable doubt. So it might not be 100, but it is so compelling that there is no doubt left in the mind of any of the jurors that are casting their vote. Okay? Or the judge in their mind. So, someone is saying, but he's not being brought to trial or being charged with a crime. It's an extended job interview. Let me get to that. So, how does this translate? First, you got to understand the reason that this is in our criminal justice system is because it is a fundamental necessity in treating people with the dignity of human rights. All right? It is fundamental to treating people with the dignity that should come along with human rights. Because we don't want people to be able to simply accuse others of things and their guilt to be assumed and have to then defend themselves against false accusations or even inaccurate or half-truthful accusations. Because when we do that, we distort the truth. And anytime we're doing that with people's lives, we're devaluing them, and it's undignified in the way that we would treat other people. In other words, it's no way to live as a society. That's why it's part of the criminal justice system. That's why it's so foundational. But it goes beyond that. If you're honest with yourself, take that principle and put it into everyday life. This is the way it ought to be in everyday life. We couldn't function otherwise. We just simply couldn't function properly without that. Now, we're talking about senators, we're talking about a Congress that chooses who is going to represent that very fundamental right in the criminal justice system. The people who appoint the judge can't circumvent the very principle that they expect him or her to embody. This is part of the problem, because they're trying to use something that dehumanizes someone to appoint them to a position where they would expect the exact opposite treatment. So this is the problem. If anybody's accused a senator of something, they just don't get to be assumed guilty. They would have to prove it. Right? This is really common human sense. So there's a little bit of a double standard in what's going on here. Now, if the people who we elect to represent the fundamental nature of human rights in our country are going to play games with this, we're playing with a dangerous by a dangerous set of rules, and we're setting ourselves up to lose. as a society. Now, the specific issue of, well, this is an extended job interview. Hey, LH, I don't see, this is the thing. This isn't about sides. This isn't about Republican versus Democrat. You haven't heard me mention any of that stuff. That's irrelevant. I'm just watching what's going on in front of me. It doesn't matter to me whether it's Republican or Democrat. That's irrelevant to the discussion. Now, so the other issue is that, yes, this is an extended job interview, but here's the problem. He's being accused of a crime. Okay? He's not this isn't just an issue of his character. Okay? Then I'm more with you. Like, you're in a job interview. But if you're in a job interview, it's an issue of character. It's not necessarily an issue of criminal behavior, right? He's being accused of crimes. So because he's accused of a crime, if we're ignoring the idea of innocence until proven guilty, and then we're just going to circumvent that and try him in the media and try him in the Senate, what have we done? What have we done to the idea of having an integrity to that whole concept in general? If we can circumvent it there at the highest levels, if we can circumvent innocence until guilt is proven at the very highest levels of our government, our elected officials whom we put our trust in to embody the principles of justice, what are we left with? That's the issue. That is what's going on. And we can't lose that. We can't lose that from the street cop all the way to the Supreme Court. We cannot lose this principle. It is not good for us as a society to lose that. So it's not just about an issue of a job interview. It's an issue of the accusations of criminal activity. Now, a lot of people have said, well, have the FBI investigate. Understand this. The FBI has no jurisdiction over those crimes. There is nothing left for the FBI to investigate. If he is accused of a sex crime in the county or jurisdiction that he supposedly committed the crimes in or was party to these crimes in, they would be the ones that you would go to, and if the statute of limitations are not up, then they would be the ones that you would report the crime to. But is it not interesting, at least, that these accusers choose now to come out and toss these accusations out, not to law enforcement, but to politicians. Not to law enforcement, but to the media. So we're circumventing this process in order to bully people into seeing something a different way, and that circumvents the right process. So it's sad. It's sad that that's happening. It's disheartening to see it happening. I don't want it to happen on either side. Zachary, yes, the process of proving guilt is massively important, and the general understanding of the system has become skewed, and people believe the media first. Huge problem. I agree. Leonardo, you had sent a super chat. It is unfair how the Kavanaugh hearing is guilty before proven innocent. It's the reverse. Women just want to play the sexual harassment card when they want to take important jobs. You know, I wouldn't make a generalization about women as it relates to this. That's really not the issue. And here's what I would say. If those women were true victims, then look at the scariness. The one accuser says that she was part of these parties where there was gang rapes, drugging and gang rapes. People would be in line to get raped, drugged females. Then she was a college student and kept going back to these underage parties. So you have her saying basically 9 times I watched a series of women get drugged and raped, and I was a party to it. And then the 10th time it happened to me. And then I still never said anything about it. I still didn't report it. I was an adult watching children get raped. And now the day before the the other one testifies, Miss Ford, and all this other stuff. Now is the time to talk about it. No, something smells fishy about that. So it's if there are true victims, I don't want them to be ignored, but true victims go through a process in order to report crimes. And emailing your senator or calling the news media, that's not how you demonstrate the probable cause to believe, the evidence to believe that anybody did anything wrong. And so if Kavanaugh was a dirtbag and sexually harassed and raped women, then yeah, he should be found out and he should be treated accordingly. But if we can't do that by circumventing the very system that is foundational to our society, this is what I'm saying. All right. Zaphod said the no true Scotsman fallacy. Are you saying that I'm making that? I don't get it. LH. Okay, a couple of things. I appreciate you sticking around, first of all, and listening. LH. I get that, like, certain victims don't report that they've been victimized. But now we're not talking about an individual victim that are unrelated to other victims. Okay? That's not the accusation here. That's not, at least not one of the latest core ones. We're not talking about isolated female here, isolated female here, isolated female here. Somebody comes forward and goes, "Oh, I was a victim too. I didn't want to say anything." I understand the psychology that could happen. This is actually not the point that I'm making. It's actually doesn't have to do with anything. My point is, you should go, if you were truly victimized, you would go to somebody that can do something about it. You would follow, or should follow, a train of thought, a process that actually could convict him of a crime. And the other side of that is that no one should be viewed as guilty automatically without evidence. It's just, that's terrible. So the both things are true at once. And to go back to the FBI issue real quick, the FBI investigated Kavanaugh 6 different times. 6. He had such a high level of clearance that he had the nuclear codes, like that level of clearance in our government. So they would have spoken to countless people. And he's got tons of women that also support him. So there's these things that are back and forth. Yes, he is squeaky clean. All right. So yeah, I want to respect the idea of victimhood, that people that are legitimate victims may fear coming forward, but I've also met legitimate victims, and their first reaction wasn't to call the local news when they wanted to come forward. It was to come to law enforcement. And so this just seems a little bit out of the ordinary for normal victimhood. Yeah, all I'm defending here, I'm not even defending Kavanaugh, to be honest with you. I don't have any reason. Just what I've seen come out, the stories and the statements from the alleged victims, is not convincing to me. It's weak, and it's not consistent with legitimate victimhood. From my experience, a decade in policing, those statements and those stories that I'm hearing from these alleged accusers, they're not consistent with true victimization from my experience. But that being said, even if they were convincing, I still would think I could look and go, man, that doesn't look good for Kavanaugh, but I would still have to view him as innocent until he is proven guilty. That is cornerstone to justice. You don't have true justice without a system and a way of treating people that treats them as innocent until proven guilty. I'm telling you, there's been times when there's probable cause to make an arrest, and I still have a conversation with that person, and countless times I've had the conversation with the person I've arrested. It's like, hey, this is why we have the system that we have. You need to have an attorney. You're going to be able to defend yourself. You're going to be able to explain yourself. I can only go on what I'm seeing at the moment and what's in front of me. But there's other evidence maybe that's going to come out, or there's other stuff that you can explain that's going to make a difference in how this is viewed down the road as to whether or not there's sufficient evidence to actually continue with the charges or to have them dropped, or certainly you have to have a tremendous amount of evidence to convict somebody beyond a reasonable doubt. Message was retracted from somebody. I don't know what happened. I'm just looking back up here at any potential super chats. Jojo, I think she got that idea from the creepy porn lawyer. Probably got the idea from scenes he did. This one lawyer is Stormy Daniels' lawyer or whatever, I guess. I don't know. But either way. Yeah, imagine me in prison. It's crazy. The world has gone full Karen. Well, I don't know that I'm even going to keep this video up. But I felt like I would say hi to you guys. How have you liked the videos? Real quick, wrapping up. How long have I been going live here? Oh, we're at 21 minutes. Okay, so you guys like the Glock Assembly Challenge? Did you guys like the chugging beer while getting pepper sprayed video? I'm curious how you guys like those or didn't like it. Or maybe you haven't seen them yet. Maybe YouTube isn't even notifying you that I had these videos, and I think it's some of our best editing work to date. Mike, he is anti-Fourth Amendment. No, Jennifer Milligan, stop it. Let's see. I never turned in the man who raped me in 98. I was 19 and scared. Do I regret it? Yes, but I would have went to the police, and seeing people go to the media instead of police or lawyer is maddening. Jennifer, first of all, thank you as always for your ridiculously amazing support. It is always noted and appreciated. And yes, I'm very sorry that you experienced that and were a victim of true sexual assault. And again, I can understand the psychology of feeling whether it's shame or fear or whatever it is that sort of like that psychological impact that a sexual assault can have. I get that. However, you're bringing up the great point, which is that when you or your family or those around you come to the point to where you're aware of it and you're deciding we're going to do something about this, exactly. You don't think I should go to the news. You think I need to go to the authorities. I need to go to the law enforcement authorities to make this happen. Thank you, Zach, being a bro-co. I'm sorry. I know the feeling. The problem is, in order to have true justice, you have to err on the side of doubt. I'd rather let a guilty person go than convict an innocent person. Metolius, I agree. I agree 100%. Do I want guilty people running around? Nope. But I certainly rather err on that rather than an innocent person. And that, protecting the integrity of that system, means we're going to do a better job convicting the right people, I think. See ya, AM fan. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad was the pepper spray? It was like bad. I don't know. I don't know what 10 would. If that wasn't 10, I don't want to find out what 10 felt like. Sure, maybe the statute of limitations are ran out, but I'm not a huge believer in coincidence. So the idea that now, after this is the thing, like people are saying, well, now if he's going to be appointed to the Supreme Court. Dude, this guy has been connected in the highest levels of government for a while. So if they were worried about him having, like, access to the highest levels of security clearance, if they really cared about his involvement in high-level politics, why now? Why now? I don't know. Thank you, ODST Medic. I appreciate that. I feel you. I feel you. Feel the love, I guess, coming through. Officer Ned Digger says humans have too much freedom. I'm going to call you Thanos. It was tasty pepper spray. Am I going to interview Officer Geiger? I think she got fired. All right. So, anyway, guys, how should I interact with the police's extra? I don't know. All right. Anyway, this is me ending the stream, which now is yellow. Doesn't say healthy stream. I don't know. So I'm wrapping it up. If you're still in the mood for some videos, go check out the Glock Assembly Challenge and go check out Chugging a Beer While Getting Pepper Sprayed. Those are my latest videos. And again, I think we did some great filming. We had a crew out in Houston do the filming. They did an awesome job, and the underpaid producer actually might deserve a regular paycheck if he keeps up that kind of editing work. So it was good stuff. All right, guys. Oh, a couple of huge announcements. It's looking like Friday afternoon I will be interviewing After Prison Show. That's right. You heard it here first, kind of. After Prison Show. If you're not familiar with him, a very large YouTube channel. And I'm going to be interviewing him, and we'll post that hopefully Friday evening, Saturday. And also, High Impact Vlogs. I believe his name is Brian. I don't want to get it wrong, but I think his name is Brian from High Impact Vlogs. And he invited me on a live stream that I'm going to be doing on Monday with him. I don't know if we'll record it and then put it on or what. So we'll try to figure it out. But yeah, that's a lot going on, guys. Hopefully you watch and keep up with all the fun. Appreciate you guys, and we will talk later.